Good morning, this is Alana from the Red Angus Association. Today I'm going to be talking about filling out the DNA order form. This is going to be a step-by-step process where we're going to go through every column and what they mean in every single page on that DNA order form. So first up is the first page. That's going to be the collection basics. So this is going to go through how to collect the hair, blood, or tissue sample. And then also it tells you the steps on how to send semen to the office. Page 2 is going to be the submission instructions. I have broken this page up into two separate slides because there's so much information and I wanted to make sure I cover everything that I feel like you should know. So first up, parentage. It is required for all bulls, so any of your sires, and then also for your donor dams. So make sure that, if you don't have DNA on file, you get that on file with us. Now for GGPs, a question I get a lot is, does the animal have to be registered? Yes. For the GGP data, we have to be able to connect that information to something, which is that reg number. So this is why they have to be registered in order to do a GGP on them. Also on this page, you'll find our address here. So whenever you're mailing anything to us, please feel free to use that and put attention DNA. Page 2 is one of the pages that I get the most questions on, and it is the pricing. That seems to be the most confusing. So we're going to go over some of my frequently asked questions. First up is this added to GGP column here. So to kind of go over this a little bit more, if you wanted to test an animal, for example, for just NH and nothing else, that would be $20. Now, if you want to test that animal for a GGP, either our ULD, our LD, or our HD, and you wanted to add on NH, that would be $10. So there's a little bit of a price difference whether you add it on or if you're testing it alone for NH and then DD as well. Another one I get quite a few questions on is the BVD. So it is $6 literally if you add it on to anything else. So you can see the asterisk there. If you look down below, it says discount price if added to parentage or defect test as well. So it's $6 if you do parentage, defect, a GGP, or whatnot. If you're testing an animal just for BVD, then it would be $8. Another area I get quite a few questions on is what's included in your GGPs. So I highlighted those areas. As you can see, the HD and the LD include OS and MA testing, and the ULD does not. So that's kind of the biggest difference very generally for those tests. Another thing is that there is a hair sample lab processing fee. So whenever you submit a hair sample to us, no matter what test you do, there's a $5 additional testing fee on it. Next up is the DNA order form. So very important, make sure you fill out your name, address, and all of that good stuff in case we ever need to communicate with you via mail. Another big one is if you know your member number, make sure to put it in here. If you ever question what your member number is, feel free to give us a call or you can look it up through Reds Pro. Over here is the payment column. So this is a great place to write if you've already paid through Reds Pro or if you've already called me and paid with a credit card, or if you want me to call you when I receive the samples, or if you're just mailing a check, you can put the total there. Now to the order form itself, this first column is for animal ID, tag, and tattoo. So a very important thing I want to mention here for the order form is that you're filling this out for the animal that you are testing. So make sure that you remember that when you're filling this out, it is for the animal that you are testing. So like I said, the first column is animal ID, tag, or tattoo. The next one is going to be registration number if they have it. If you're doing a GGP test, there's also a reminder there that says that the registration number is required for any of those testing options. Next is the sample barcode or cane code. So if you have a hair or blood card, if you flip those over, you'll see that there's a barcode on the back. That's where you will write this. If you're submitting TSUs, if you look on the side of the TSU, you'll see like NE or another series of numbers. So that is where you're going to write that. Now, if you're submitting a semen sample to us, if you look at the semen straw itself, there's usually a couple numbers followed by 2 letters and then a couple more numbers. That's where you're going to write that right there. Next column is sample type, B, H, or T. So that stands for blood, hair, or tissue. If you're submitting a semen sample, then you could put S. Date of birth is this next column. It is not required, but it is helpful if you put that information in there for me. Next is male or female. And then we're going to get to the genetic defects. So if you are just testing an animal, for example, for OS, that's where you're going to write it in there. Now, if you're going to be testing that animal for a GGP-LD or a GGP-HD, OS and MA are included in both of those tests. So you don't need to rewrite that in the genetic defect column. That is only for if you're adding more onto those GGPs or if you're doing standalone. Now remember that the ULD does not include OS or MA testing. So if you want those testing options, either go with an LD or an HD or write in the genetic defect that you want on that one. Next is BVD and parentage. So if you want BVD on your animals, obviously there's the column for that. I highlighted the parentage one and it says on file. A lot of folks get confused with that on file part. That just basically means that we're going to keep that DNA on file once we run the parentage test. So if you're looking to do the minimum requirement for your sire or your donor dam, go ahead and mark parentage. Next up is our GGP testing. There's the ULD column, the LD, and the HD. If you want to know what's included in those tests, please go back to page 2 or give us a call here. We're happy to go through the differences with you. Next up is most probable sire. So this is a sire that you think would be the most probable option for your animal that you're testing. If you do have an alternative sire, you are welcome to put it in this column here. One thing I want to touch on that we will cover a little bit later is page 5, which has a multi-sire group. So let's say you have about 5 possible sires and you want to call that group A and you want to write that only on the back order form. That's fine. You can put group A in the most probable sire column and that will let me know that I need to reference that when I'm doing my testing upload. The last column is the most probable dam. So go ahead and you can write her reg number in there. If you do have any foreign animals and you don't know if they're in the system, if you can write the association they're from and then their foreign registration number, you can put that in there. If you look them up through our Reds Pro system, you can see if they're already in there. And if they have a red Angus number, please put that in there. Last but not least is the signature. This is literally the most important part of this form. Please make sure you sign it. We cannot test samples if we don't have your consent to do so. Next up is the continuation of page 1 for the DNA order form part. So basically this page is only if you have more than 10 animals that you are testing. You cannot submit this form alone because there's nowhere for you to write your member number and your address and then sign our terms and conditions. So make sure when you submit DNA that you use the previous page that says the RAAA DNA order form on it. Last but not least is the multi-sire/dam page. Most often this page is used for people who have many sires. That could be a possibility for some calves. So you can go ahead and write those in there and then you can write what breeding group that is and I can reference that, like I said, off of that DNA order form. Now, every once in a while, there are some folks that have multiple dams. That could be a possibility. You can also write those in here. Just let me know that this is going to be for dams and not sires. I wanted to talk about this page here. So this is part of our electronic form. A lot of folks do give me a call saying, hey, I can't figure out how to get off this first page. So what you need to do is go all the way down and you'll see those tabs. It'll say sample collection basics, instructions, order form, multi-sire breeding groups. If you click on each one of those tabs, that will take you to the appropriate page. A couple of reminders I wanted to go over. You can use the DNA submit report to help with electronic submissions. I'm going to cover that in the next slide a little bit more in detail. Also, animals that you have, or if you're testing animals and you have more than 35 of them, we require an electronic form emailed to us. If you ever have any questions about that or how you do it, please give us a call here. Also, have blood and hair cards in the order of the order form. You can use rubber bands to keep those cards together. TSUs need to be in numeric order. We also have another YouTube video that kind of goes over that in a little bit more detail. That's the DNA submissions. And then also, last but not least, March through June is the best time to submit DNA for fall animals. That's just because we have not as many submissions going on right now. So that kind of helps with your time process at the lab. So if you have some and you're thinking about selling them here this fall, go ahead and submit them now. So here's the DNA submit report. So you just need to log into your Reds Pro account. You need to go to My Reports tab. So that's going to be that first picture over here on the left. You're going to wait for the drop-down menu and then select My Reports. And then you can do a pre-made group or an existing group, or you can do a quick group. So a quick group's more if you have 5 animals that you want to test. You plug in their registration numbers, it'll pull everything out of the system that we have. An existing group is, for example, if you wanted to test all of your active inventory, your whole herd, you could select that group and it'll pull all of that information for that group. Then you're going to click on the right-hand side, the DNA Submit report, and then go to the bottom of the page and click Generate Report. And then now you can download that and copy and paste right into your electronic form. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. We're at extension 8, that's DNA, or you can email us at dna@redangus.org. I hope that this was informative, and of course, if you have any more questions on it, like I said, please feel free to contact us.